Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Bird. It's the Kirk and Bird Show. We are doing our high school football review and preview now that we're in the regional finals for the state of Virginia. And we're blessed to have with us today Jason Sterling. He's our Loudoun County expert. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you, Rusty.
Yep. And we've got Larry Legend, the 804 Ball and VA podcast host. He knows everything about 804, but he also knows a little bit too much about the rest of the state. So he tried to tell us, we got to push back on that a little bit. But yeah, he knows all things Virginia, but he specializes in 804. He's from the RVA, Larry Legend.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining us, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Yep.
So Larry,
yeah. And then, of course, my co-host, Kirk Hilliard, a Phoebus alum, and Phoebus is one of those teams this year that, as Larry would say, it's the Phoebus Invitational. Kirk's a little biased, but let's go. Let's get into this, guys. We're going to talk Loudoun County. We're going to talk divisions 4 and 5, VHSL. So, Jason, why don't you start us off? What the Loudoun County Kettle Run game. But before we do that, let me ask you, how were the game? Did you get a chance to catch any of the Loudoun County games or just know anything about their Sharando victory?
I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
Stonebridge. Why don't you do Stonebridge and I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's
okay.
good. I did catch Loudoun County earlier in the year, and we can talk about them in a second. They're a good quality team, very balanced. I think Kirk will tell you that too. So I was at the Stonebridge Riverbend game, which was you look at the score. I think it ended up 50-29. It was like a 21-point game, but it was 42-0 at the end of the third. So once the substitution patterns really started for Mickey in the fourth quarter, Riverbend got a little bit on the scoreboard there. Recovered a couple onside kicks, were able to punch those in to make the score a little closer than what it was. But the first three quarters were dominated. It was 35-0 at half, so they had a running clock to start the third quarter there. So, but that takes them into Mountain View, which obviously we know that's going to be a tough game. Mountain View, we were just talking, they put a hurting on Patrick Henry. That was looking at that game, I thought Patrick Henry would be a little more competitive. Mountain View, it was 28-0 before you could even come out of the box there in that game. So that game was all Mountain View. They're very physical. They're physical on both lines. They've got a lot of great skill position players too. We were just talking there. Their running back who's going to Syracuse, Ike Daniels, he got hurt in that game. I don't know his status for this Friday against Stonebridge, but his backup, Vincent Bond, came into the game and tore him up for $170 and 2 touchdowns on only 9 carries. So that tells me Mountain View's got a lot of depth at some of the key positions, and I think that's something that maybe around the state people are underestimating a little bit. So Mountain View's got a really good team, and it's going to be a great game with Stonebridge. I mean, last year Stonebridge handled them pretty easily. It was 37-0 in the same game, the regional championship game. I don't see it being that much of a spread. I do like Stonebridge in the game, but I'll tell you, I think Mountain View's got some athletes to be able to hang this year with them, and they're very well coached. Sorrentino's been around the block a lot. He knows what he's doing. He'll have his guys prepared for Friday afternoon.
Yeah. Mountain View. Before they lost to Colonial Forge, a lot of people were saying they were one of the most talented and best teams in the state. I look at that loss to Colonial Forge and as that that's a county rivalry game. Those coaching staffs have coached with and against each other over the years. Both teams have coaches that won state championships at Hilton. Look, Stonebridge was just shown that they were human this year with their loss to Freedom. But since then, they've put it together and they rolled through. I think if I had to pick, I think Stonebridge is going to win, but I would not be surprised if Mountain View won that game.
Yeah.
I think both teams can win it, but I think the coaching for Stonebridge, the execution, the discipline. We were talking, Jason, before we started recording, just how many guys get 5 carries in a game, and Mickey can put different people in there. There's a lot of players. Obviously Zeke Wimbush is the star, and he can play wide out, slot receiver, tight end, running back,
quarterback.
Yeah, and then I was saying it'd be good to see a number of packages with Mario Suarez and Zeke Wimbush, so you get all the best players on the field. But Stonebridge is deeper than I thought, and they're more physical. I was watching the game with William Fleming, and I watched some of it, a good part of it on the fence. So more physical than I thought. Really better skill players than I thought. So I think this team is coming along very good. And we have Larry on because Larry's seen Highland Springs, and I would say if Phoebus is the Class 3 Invitational, then Highland Springs probably second. A lot of people can win 6, and so in 4 is up for grabs too. But Larry, what's your thoughts on Stonebridge getting through and facing a loaded? I mean, here Highland Springs has played, the best teams in North Carolina. They played Manchester. Manchester's only lost. They manhandled Manchester. So
Destroy Colonial Forge.
Right. So if Stonebridge or Mountain View, and I'm going to call Stonebridge, comes down to Richmond Saturday after this Saturday, what are your thoughts on the chances of either team beating Highland Springs?
They're going home on a happy Saturday evening.
Yeah. Any shot, though? Any shot? Realistic.
Man, listen, let's just call it what it is. Lauren Johnson, he might not win. This is opinion. This is not his take on this, because I don't know the man. I never met the man.
Yeah.
But considering how that game played out last year, he's still pissed about that. And that staff. They're still pissed about that. And then this year, Stonebridge is coming down to Richmond to play them on this team that's on a mission.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And I wouldn't be surprised if the score gets run up.
Yeah.
Just for that very reason.
Yeah. Well, the score running up in today's football happens all the time. But, I think Stonebridge is, very close with Mountain View, but I think Stonebridge will go down there. I think there is a slight chance, but they would have to have it all.
Now, I've got a question for you, Jason. I was looking. Okay, it says online in Max Preps that Stonebridge is the number 1 seed, but then another place it says the game is at Mountain View.
No,
it's at home. It's at Stonebridge.
Yeah.
They had the highest point total in the region. But to Larry's point,
that's what I thought.
To Larry's point, I mean, the winner, regardless of winner's got to go down to the east end of Richmond, and that's, it's very valid and good observation. They're very, Highland Springs is pretty angry at what happened last year. Stonebridge has now nipped them two consecutive games, both in the same calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna, whoever goes, whether it's Mountain View or Stonebridge, that's an uphill battle for sure. I was talking to some of my buddies, and we probably give, maybe a 1-4, 1-5 chance to Stonebridge. I mean, it's hard to think Highland Springs is not going to come out of that game as a winner, but you never know. It's high school football.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are crazy, do a lot of different things. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
And I'll say this too. Again, I looked at the weather, the forecast. It could be raining on Friday, and if it's raining, Stonebridge is built for that.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. The rain. What factor do you think?
Well, wait a minute. No, that won't even matter because that wouldn't be this week anyway.
That's right.
No,
They will play next week.
But that is a good point. This week, let's ask Jason this week. Stonebridge and Mountain View, they both got great ground games. I mean, with Stonebridge and the wing T and the way they mix it up, I give them a slight advantage. What's your feeling, Jason, on Stonebridge and Mountain View, and then possibly Stonebridge and Highland Springs and East Richmond if it's raining there?
Yeah, I mean, I think last forecast I saw for Friday is probably about a 50-60% chance of rain in the afternoon. So again, I don't know if there's a huge advantage for either Mountain View or Stonebridge in the game. They both like to run the ball, sort of out of the base sets. Probably give Stonebridge a little more advantage on that, just because of all the different packages they run out of that single wing. Yeah. Kirk. Obviously the weather, in a couple of weeks, nobody knows. I don't think Highland Springs really cares what type of weather they play anybody in. It could be a foot of snow or 85 degrees. They're going to bring everything they got in the kitchen sink to you. So you almost have to play a perfect game in order to beat Highland Springs this year. I think personally, I mean, you've got to have either 1 or 0 turnovers, in my opinion. You can't have more than 1. And you've got to somehow get the penalties going against Highland Springs and in your favor. And if those 2 things don't happen, and they're very hard to happen, on someone's home field, it's an uphill battle. So,
and Christian Martin is a different QB this year than he was last year. He was a 10th grader, first time playing in that environment, and now he's come back working with Malcolm Bell over there, the offensive coordinator at Trinity Episcopal, who just won the state championship this past weekend. Christian Martin is a different thing. But if they don't throw the ball, they got 2 guys that can run the ball for Highland Springs. They don't mind running the ball. So that's why I said, if Stonebridge come down here, I'm telling you, it is barbecue chicken, because you know what happened up there last year, and they have not forgotten.
And the year before,
the year before, right, on that last play. And that was at Verona. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a pretty tall order. If weather came into play, it's not a factor, right?
Nope.
Against Highland Springs.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So hold on, I got a new question for everybody. All right. So we're discussing, class 5. And then I'm going to do the same question when we get back to 4. Let me go back to 4 too. But let me ask you this. Yeah. What in this weekend, what would be the biggest upset in high school football on this, no matter what class? Would it be if Phoebus lost to Lake Taylor, if Highland Springs lost to Byrd, if Freedom lost to Patriot? What would you consider the biggest upset in high school football this weekend?
I mean, to me, it's wow. They all 3 would be upsets. I still have to go Highland Springs Byrd. I mean, Byrd's improved. Are they back to the Byrd of old? From a few years ago, probably not. But I mean, that division is sort of mediocre outside of Highland Springs, right? I mean, Highland Springs is just cream of the crop. But the Freedom, if Freedom somehow loses too after the tear they've been on, I mean, guys, they only need, I think it's 38 more points. Right. And they set the all-time VHSL scoring record. They pass, I think, Manchester, and I want to say it's Phoebus or somebody's tied for that. Or
I think Hampton.
Hampton in 86.
Yeah,
Hampton in 86, but Hampton did it in 14 games. This would be in the 13th game.
And then
they could set the record by halftime. So, but I'd still go Byrd Highland Springs as the biggest upset. But I mean, I don't think we're going to see it, guys. I really don't.
Yeah.
If I had to pick, I would definitely go with Phoebus, because the whole world, the whole state, the whole 757 was shut down. If Phoebus was lose that game, they would not know how to recover if Phoebus lose that game. I mean, Highland Springs, like you said, Jason is right. It would be a big upset, but it's highly unlikely, especially without them playing at Highland Springs. But if Phoebus lose, come on, man.
Hey, Kurt, how does this Phoebus defense rank against some of the historic Phoebus defenses, in your opinion?
It's probably 4th or 5th. The offense is probably 3rd, but I was going to say this caveat. I think that Lake Taylor is the toughest game they're going to play all year. I'm not sold on Liberty.
That's what I was. Yeah.
I think LC Byrd beating Highland Springs will be a bigger upset, and 1B would be Lake Taylor over Phoebus. But I'll give a quick blurb on Phoebus. This was just a loaded football team. Jordan Bass, unbelievable player. If you want to shut him down, you got Keontae Gray, Kamari Gray's little brother. That's what the name I couldn't think of last segment, Rusty. You've got a great running back and Ty Taylor, and then the quarterback is great. Really good player. So if they key on Jordan Bass in a really, really good offensive line, they got a lot of guys on defense. Great defensive end who's going to be an elite recruit. Trey Reddick, number 88. He's good. They've got good linebackers, Tillery. So, yeah, they're good. It would be, right there with Highland Springs. I would say with Phoebus being 3, but Phoebus is going to move up to 4. But, so that would be, that's what I'd say. Highland Springs, LC Byrd, Phoebus, Lake Taylor 2nd. But let's move over to Class 4. So we've got Loudoun in the quarterfinals, playing to get a bid against
Kettle Run.
the EC Glass Salem winner. They beat Kettle Run, so that would be in the state semifinals, and I believe that would be at Loudoun County. So, my question is, Jason, I know you know a little bit about Kettle Run, and I've seen Loudoun County play more than once. So, I want to get your take on Kettle Run. Very, very good team.
Yeah, they're very, very good team. So, if EC Glass wins and beats Salem, both either Loudoun or Kettle Run, the winner of that game would go to EC Glass. If Salem wins, they would come to either Kettle Run or Loudoun. So there's enough of a point differential there in the final regular season ranking. So it's really determined as to where the semifinal game is going to be played. But Kettle Run, phenomenal wide receiver, Jordan Tapscott, VMI commit. He is good. He's a lanky kid, about 6'2", probably $180, but always gets open. He had 12 catches in their regional semifinal game last week. So that's a lot for a single receiver in a game. You don't really see that at the Class 5, Class 6 level, just because of the amount of talent, or the Class 4 level even. When the amount of talent, when you spread the ball around a lot, right? You don't see one guy taking that number of targets and catches. I think he's got about 1,500 receiving yards this year, holds almost all the school records. They've got a good running back too in Quaker. Pretty good quarterback. They had the district defensive player of the year. I mean, they're a good 12. Look, guys, you don't go 12-0 without being pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for Loudoun County. I mean, you can say, hey, has either schedule been enormously tough? Probably not, but 12-0 is 12-0, as Bill Parcells used to say. You are what your record says you are.
That's right.
And I mean, these two teams are going to battle it out. That's a pretty even game. To me, it's a coin flip. I think Loudoun County will win it. And I think EC Glass will end up beating Salem, but I was surprised Salem went down and just took Louisa out, that easily as well last weekend. So, but this is Salem's time of year too, as you guys know. They always come around come playoff time, regardless of whatever happened in the regular season. So, they're a good team.
Yeah, good point. We'll talk about that. But yeah, let's Loudoun County. So Loudoun County doesn't have anybody that like jumps out at you. They look very good. They definitely have a home field advantage. They pack it in. Good environment. And just a steady, disciplined team.
They grind you to death.
Yeah. Well, big physical line that's underrated. They may not have any Power 5 recruits, but, a really good line. They had a really good pulling guard, number 75. What's that?
I would say they're just very, very well coached.
Very well coached. Coach riding ball.
And Jeremiah Davis.
Yeah.
My dog on the staff.
Yeah. I would say this, Jason Murray, number 27, is a really good looking running back. And he was out 5 games. So I think he's a wild card factor. If he can get going, and that could be the key. If he has a really big game, and I think they're going to beat Kettle Run, and I think it's going to be a great game. I would say that Zach Hench, number 4, just a 5'10" kid, 5'11", but really good poise. Threw some nice, pretty balls. I don't know that he has a rocket arm, but he had a lot of touch. And they're very good at getting space down, in the middle of the field, kind of between the safeties and the linebackers. And the thing is that they're just physical. They're very physical. So, if they played a Highland Springs, it would be tough. If they played some of those 6 teams, Freedom, they may out physical them. But for 4, I think they're very physical. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They're very well coached. And I was just going to say, Jason, did you say they'll be going to EC Glass? Because Glass has got a loss.
Yeah, Glass has a loss, but Glass's schedule, their schedule was stronger. So the Glass has on this side, Glass has the most points through the end of the regular season. So now if Salem, like I said, if Salem ends up beating Glass, Salem would have to come to either Kettle Run or Loudoun County. So
right. Well, let's talk about that game, because that's a really good matchup. Andre Kendrick, we're trying to get him on. He played running back for Tech, took him to the house against Florida State, was Tech's yards per carry #1 guy for a long time, was broken, but he let me.
He was an All-American at Glass, right?
Yeah, and he's in the Glass Hall of Fame, Hilltoppers. Andre Kendrick, Drake can Talk, DREKEN Talk is his podcast, but he basically said that it's going to be good. And by the way, Salem has a very hard schedule. They beat a Class 6 team, Class 5 team. They've got a really impressive record, but basically Andre feels that Glass will out-physical them. The war at the line of scrimmage. I don't think anybody's going to blow anybody out. I think there's been some chatter down there, maybe a little bit of bulletin board material from Salem. I think Glass is going to win that game. I'll be happy if Salem wins it, though, because they'll come up and play the winner of the Loudoun County team. So, but I got to pick Glass. So I would say Glass is going to win that. And then I'm going to pick Loudoun County to upset them and play Dinwiddie in the state championship. I have Dinwiddie winning. So if we extrapolate that out, that's going to go, we got Warwick, Kings Fork. I switched to Warwick. Warwick's rolling now. And that's Peninsula team, Newport News team. And then the other one is Dinwiddie and King George. King George is undefeated. Rusty's seen them at a 7-on-7, and I believe a scrimmage. They've beaten some great teams. They
beat Freedom. They beat a lot of teams 7-on-7 because they have 2 5-star receivers.
Yep.
2. So you talked about the receiver at Kettle Run. King George got, and those kids are big, athletic. Like I said, I was watching them beat Freedom in 7-on-7, and then my son was trying to check one of them, and I was like, he was upset. I was like, "Don't worry about it, dude. It's not just you." They those receivers. But again, this Friday they're at King. Now, I predicted King George to win, but they're at Dinwiddie, and if it's raining like I think, Dinwiddie could get that win. And again, Dinwiddie's a great program. I mean, they beat up Bird. No, they beat up Thomasdale. Crutchdale. I'm sorry. Yeah. So when we want to get all the way down to it, I think I said King George will probably end up playing Glass in the championship, and I believe I said King George will win, right? Or did I say Glass?
You picked King George.
Yeah, I picked King George.
What do you think, Jason?
I think that King George Dinwiddie winner will win the state title.
That's what I think too.
That's what I said last year when Verina was who did Verina. I said whoever Verina beat in that game that was the state championship.
Yeah, I wish I could get to that King George Dinwiddie game. That's, to me, I mean, those teams could hang with Class 5, Class 6 teams all day long.
Yeah,
exactly.
We talk about how good Class 4 is. I mean, same thing for Warwick and Kings Fork. I mean, they're both really good teams too. So I mean, there's not this 6-5-4, there's not a lot of drop off. And then you put a Phoebus in there, probably, at the upper echelon of 3, you could toss them in any of this, so that separation that normally you would think, 3 versus 6 or 4 versus 5, it's just not there. I mean, there's some really good teams. I think 4 and 5 may be more top heavy loaded than even Class 6 this year.
I would agree.
Outside of Freedom. That's with Oscar Smith being down.
I agree with you. Totally. Yeah. Larry, what's your take? I mean, I know you've seen and heard a lot about Dinwiddie. I almost said Dinwiddie, Mike Tomlin's school. What are your thoughts on Dinwiddie? I mean, I think they're going to have a barn burner game with King George, but I think they're going to prevail. And I agree with Jason. I think that whoever wins that's going to win the whole thing. They'll beat Warwick. I think they're going to beat or Kings Fork. What's your thought? What do they say about them down there, Larry?
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you, man. They got a young team, man. Dinwiddie's on a mission as well, just like Highland Springs is, man. And that game is, to me, probably going to be one of the best games, along with that Western Branch Manchester game too. So that game is what, Friday or Saturday? I want to say.
I believe it's
Dinwiddie, King George.
Should be Saturday.
Yeah, I can't make that game.
I can pull it up, but with my
but
it's
I'm
Saturday.
telling you, man,
Warwick is Friday. Warwick is Friday. Dinwiddie Saturday. I'm with you guys. That King George game and Dinwiddie is going to be the determine who's going to win a state championship, man. And I'm gonna roll with the 804, keeping that title here, with us, with Coach Mills and that staff, man, because everybody's been talking about Dinwiddie from when they went down to 757 to those scrimmages this summer. And ever since then, everybody's been talking about Dinwiddie, and they have done nothing but prove everybody right. So I'm rolling with them. Dinwiddie's going to be here for a little while. They got very, very young team. I think the quarterback is a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. So, So if we break down the whole state, and I know this is still projecting out, What region is going to get the most state championships? Looks like it might be 804 if they get Highland Springs and Dinwiddie. But 703, we only really, I think our best chance would be Freedom. Unless Kettle Run or Loudoun County can do something. But, and then 757,
you should get one.
Yeah,
at least
one with Phoebus. Yeah,
King George is 540. I mean, I don't think you
right. That's 540.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's 804. Richmond, 2 out of the top 4, and then 2's up for grabs. But yeah, and by the way, if Loudoun County wins it, they're going to earn it. I mean, Kettle Run's a great team and undefeated. They have to go to Glass. I don't think there's any way Salem will beat Glass. That's a great program. Cornell Brown, just unbelievable players. Keith Hamble that went to Pitt, played for the Giants. So if they were to follow that up, they could stay right in Lynchburg, right? EC Glass, just stay down there for the week. I bet they get like that. But to play a very good Dinwiddie or King George team, or even a Warwick team. So, if County wins it, they're going to earn it. So, and I was just going to point this out about County. Coach Weidenbaugh was on our show, and he talked about one of the reasons he probably got the position was he said he thought County was a special place. And, if you look at trends, Stonebridge came along in 2002, Mickey won right away, and he's built it. And everybody started to catch up with them. Because if you look at Tuscarora has been to, I think, 2 state championships. They're right above to the north of County. Heritage, which is, I think, southwest or due, of County. They made the playoffs. They're finally coming up. Riverside has a good coach, and Riverside is a great athletic school. So don't sleep.
Hold on, bro. Loudoun County, I've been saying this for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Y'all got ballers and talent. Look, when you go Broad Run, Briarwood.
That's what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
Tuscarora, Independence is really good. What was the one? Woodgrove won a state championship. Yeah, man, y'all got some squads, man. And I remember this. I remember when Broad Run was horrible. I mean, I remember going there, and they weren't good in football at all. But man, they've won state championships recently, and they've had good programs. Not this year, but like Loudoun County, man, you guys. Whew.
Yeah.
So I have a theory on that. There's a lot of government jobs in the county, and I think when parents come up here, there's just a lot of schools to choose from.
Well, just like 757, when the military people come from out of the state or whatever, and they move right into 757, it's the same thing.
Taj Boyd was supposed to go to Lansdowne, and Taj Boyd, people Stonebridge know Taj Boyd. He was a junior on that team, the 2007 first state championship. He came over the PD. He talked to Hampton. They're like, "We got Tyrod Taylor. You might want to go over to Phoebus." So he was an absolute stud at Phoebus. But and another thing, Larry, is that a lot of the military, and Hampton Roads has got Langley Air Force Base, largest Navy. Army's got Fort Eustis. A lot of guys, their final tour will be in an admin position up here.
Okay.
And they will go to a school based on football. And it's starting to be Stonebridge and some of the other programs out here and where Rusty lives. Patriot, Field, those schools are all important. But that's the point I was going to make about Loudoun County High School, is they're primed to keep being good with a tradition, because I think that Stonebridge has just raised, a high tide all ships. So
they've been
a lot more talent out here. Yeah, a lot more talent out here. I mean, I think Stonebridge has got 6 kids going Division I believe.
So the other thing I think that the 757 and 804 have are this, and I know this was the case when I was growing up in Hampton, is if you have some areas that are not as wealthy, not doing quite as well, and people live in apartments, bruh, you can every year you can move, because you ain't got a mortgage. You get an apartment. And I remember Hampton High taking advantage of that. A lot of people that worked in the shipyard, not just, but I agree. A lot of people military, when they get to the area, they're asking where those schools are. But when you got people that have that flexibility because they're living in apartments, you can move. You can just move to where the zone you want to live in.
We won't get into a socioeconomic conversation, but in Loudoun County, outside of Park View, Loudoun County High School probably has more of that, people moving in and out than I would say Parkview is number one, maybe Loudoun County second. The other thing is that I would say Highland Springs, I heard a statistic, 84% of the students live in rented homes. But yeah, I just think that the future is bright, very bright. Tuskegee got a lot coming back. So that's going to be one of those things. And I just found out that the Stonebridge game is Friday night. So I'm looking for it. If it's raining, I hope I'll find
Friday during the day.
It's
The
2
2 o'clock
o'clock.
game on Friday.
Okay.
Remember,
Yeah,
that's Fridays after Thanksgiving, so most
Right.
people don't work.
Right. And the Virginia Tech
Mhm.
got rescheduled, by the way. If anybody doesn't know it, Virginia Tech's going to be playing on the Saturday afterwards. And I was probably going to be a noon game with all the time.
It's December 3rd at 2 o'clock.
Right. Any closing arguments, Jason or Larry?
No, listen, I
Closing thoughts?
think Stonebridge will get past Mountain View. It's going to be a tough game, and then the gauntlet awaits for Stonebridge after that one. So I don't know, Larry. Tell Johnson to take it easy on us, man.
You know he's
Fired
not.
up, man.
You know he's not. He's been waiting on this, man.
I said
He's
fired
been
up,
waiting
man.
on this because considering last year, the biggest thing with Highland Springs was chemistry because they didn't really get, just like the COVID thing was going on. That was their biggest thing with their coaching staff and the kids was chemistry. And they just said, once we get our chemistry back to what it was, that's what they did all season. They was willing to prove to let everybody know we back up. They set their schedule set up for that, and they are waiting.
Yeah.
And Stonebridge, I'm pretty sure they're rooting for Stonebridge to win that game against Mountain.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if Stonebridge is, man, I'm telling you, I will be there front row.
Yeah.
I'll probably try to get a sideline pass for that because I just want to hear what Lauren Johnson got to say.
Well, Lauren Johnson is not a cusser or swear.
Mm-mm.
But last year I saw him after the game and he was just irate.
He was hot.
Yeah, the call, I was opposite of it, but I know some people that were right there on the Highland Springs sideline that they said it was obvious. But like Mickey says, hey, they don't get calls down there, and that's the way it goes. But both Loudoun County teams, Stonebridge has got a tough road to hoe because if they happen to get past Highland Springs, they're going to play a dynamic Green Run.
Green Run.
I think thinks it's going to be Kempsville, but Green Run is very good. Kevin White is probably going to be a Hokie, and they've got some 5-star wide receivers under.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then Loudoun County, unbelievable path they have. We're going to have to beat a great Kettle Run team, unbelievable EC Glass team, and then go face the winner of King George and Dinwiddie. And by the way, don't sleep on that Kings Fort Worth region either. Those are some good programs. Wart's a really good team. They gave Phoebus pretty good game. So
yeah, this is
Kings
guys. This
Fort
is the weekend. This is the weekend where good teams start going home, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think when you look at the regional championship and you're like, man, we could have won a state title, but we went home. I think you're a lot of teams will be saying that after Friday and Saturday of this week, and that's just the way it goes. Only six teams walk away with the championship in the state, and the rest are left wondering what if. So.
Yeah, Kings Fork still mad about that Verano thing last year because they felt like that once Verano won this year, they felt like coming back, this was their year to win. So, Kings Fork may have something to say about that too, about Dinwiddie and King George.
Yeah.
They're the same way. They got a tough road.
I'll close on this. I think Highland Springs, again, they played the toughest schedule in the state. Bro, they went to North Carolina and played one of the best teams in that state, Chambers, and beat them. They played Martinsburg from West Virginia, that is always a powerhouse, beat them 34-3. And then just within their regular season schedule, they beat Manchester 49-7. They beat Henrico. They beat Colonial Forge. That was in the playoffs, 56-zip. They beat Hanover, Patrick Henry, Atlee, and they beat Varina 29-zip, a defending state champ. And Freeman gave them a tough game, but they rolled. And so I think that Highland Springs is maybe the cream of the crop, but we'll see.
All right. So I'll close with this. If Jason Murray gets number 27 for county. If he gets 150 yards rushing, Loudoun County wins. And then for Stonebridge, I will say that if Suarez passes for over 150 yards in the rain, Stonebridge wins. So I'll close on that.
I like it, Kirk.
Okay.
I like
All
it.
right, guys.
All right. Hey, look, thank you all for joining us. This has been great. Your knowledge is definitely right up there with me. Now, here's y'all, here's Kirk, and here's me.
That's good, Rusty.
Kirk,
We got you in there, man.
No, look, now, Larry, I hear you when you talk about how I make my picks, but you do the same thing, bro. So I pick. I pick sometimes who I think will win, but then sometimes I go like a crazy reason. But look, you said Dinwiddie just because they just from your area, so we'll see.
No, I did not. say
they're
that.
good.
I don't do that.
Hey, Jason's from Dinwiddie. He went to Dinwiddie. There you go.
All
I
right. No, but
wouldn't do
we'll just
that.
see. We'll just see. I would like to go back and look at some of your picks, and I just got to see if all of them because you thought it was the best team. We'll see.
Well,
Man, y'all, that's that 757 crap that y'all just pick people just because they down there. Ain't seen nobody outside of Hampton. They ain't seen nobody outside of Hampton, but you swear to God that they better than anybody in the 804 and the rest of the state.
No, Larry, whoever wins Heritage King George is going to beat Kings Fort or Wark. That's going to happen.
Yeah,
So that's
I agree. I agree.
7 bias there, and Wark's only got one loss. Kings Wark, I think, has a couple, but they're low. They were state championships. So, I mean,
let me just get to the heart of this. Larry be hating on my style because I'll pick you just because my nephew played there, or because I coach the quarterback. That is true analysis, bro. That's real analysis. That's right there.
He's more worried about facing people with the hot. Go ahead.
Right. All right, man. Hey, look, this has been a lot of fun. Let's see who gets this stuff right. Jason, thanks again for joining us. Larry Legend, Ball and VA podcast, and my partner, Phoebus graduate Kirk Hilliard. This has been Kirk and Bird. We are out.